Hi and welcome to this week's video where I am talking about my 5 quick tips that can help to change your thoughts. My name is Faye Cox and I'm a mindset and confidence coach, and I work with people to support them in believing themselves until they believe in themselves by themselves, if that makes sense. Anyway, so as I mentioned, today we're talking about how we can change our thoughts. Now, you might be surprised at how often during the day that you focus on a negative thought. So with the average person having 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day, this can get out of hand very quickly. Now, the best thing that you can do to stop negative thoughts is to try and become more aware of those times that you are thinking in a negative manner. So we call this kind of catching those thoughts. Your life is a reflection of everything you have programmed into your mind over time. You are being programmed every second of every day from the very minute that you are born. Now, we're being programmed with both your internal thoughts and your external thoughts. Your internal thoughts are the ones that drive you. And in a nutshell, you are what you think you are. Now, your unconscious beliefs and thought patterns literally shape the world around you each and every second. Now, much like a broken record, your thoughts get stuck on what your problems are, and you lose the ability to break out of the cycle. Now, this never-ending cycle becomes your way of life. So you literally think yourself into creation. Now, this is the song that you sing and the dance that you dance when you're stuck in a cycle of despair. Now, when we're stuck in this cycle, all we can really do, and all you're actually really doing, is expanding the presence and the power of that despair. And you're tightening its grip on you until it gets to a point where your mind is controlling you. And what we want to do is we want to totally flip it so that you are in control of your mind. And that brings me nicely on to my 5 quick tips to help you change your thoughts. Now, we call this reframing the thought. So tip number 1 is to identify those automatic negative thoughts that keep coming up again and again, because your thoughts are directly linked to your feelings and your behaviors as a result of those feelings. So your thoughts influence how you feel, which influences how you behave. So listening and writing down your negative thought patterns can help increase your awareness. Now, the very first step to anything we do, which comes to confidence, changing that mindset, changing who we are, making those life changes that we want to make in relationships, in life in general, in our career, in our business. It all starts with becoming more aware. And writing things down, so we're getting them out of here and onto paper, is one of the simplest but most effective ways that we can do that. So list down those thoughts that keep coming up for you. Just write them down. They could be anything as simple as, and I'm going to use this one because I always do, is I am not good enough, or I can't do this, which is something that comes up for us all. Now, the second thing is to explore the cause of that negative thought process or pattern. These could even relate to your childhood. This could be stuff that has been programmed from such a young age, potentially from your parents. Now, your parents have always wanted to protect you. So there will be certain things that they will have said to you when you were younger, such as don't talk to strangers. We all get taught stranger danger when we are younger, and that keeps us safe. And it's really, really important to know that as children. But as we come out into our adult lives, when we start to go out and about and we start to meet new people, we start a new job, we start running a business, go networking, we're wanting to build our circle of friends bigger. We have to start getting comfortable with talking to people we don't know. And this completely goes against the belief that we have been taught not to speak to strangers. And there's so many different things like that. We need to catch these thoughts, to become aware of them, to explore where they come from, so that we can get to a point where we can go, do you know what, I don't need that thought anymore. Thank you for that thought. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. But actually, that doesn't work for me anymore. And that's not something I want to take forward. So again, we could have some of these, they could have come from your teachers. They could have come from a sports coach. I mean, I know I talk about parents, teachers and sports coaches a lot, but they had a very heavy influence on me when I was a child, and they most certainly do with the teenagers that I work with at the college as well. Now, the third tip is to keep a record of those negative thoughts and try and come up with words or phrases that counteract it. So if we go back to when we might say you can't do something. In my house, we don't use the words I can't. When I was younger, I was always told that the word I can't didn't exist, but I used to think it was a grammatical thing because unfortunately my mum didn't tell me why it didn't exist. She didn't explain to me, obviously, that that's not going to get me anywhere. She'd just say there's no such word as can't. And my parents were very big on us speaking properly. So I just thought it was something to do with how I spoke. But anyway, I teach my children not to use the word I can't, because the evidence shows that every time they tell themselves they can't do something, there would have been a time where they said they can't do something and they have been able to do it. So we use that evidence-based thinking as well, which is another tip that you can use. So we use the words, I'll give it a go, because let's face it, how do we know if we can do something or not unless we give it a go? I don't tend to use the words I'll try because I find that a bit wishy-washy. But if I say to myself, or my children say to themselves, I'll give it a go, it makes you feel good. It's an empowering kind of statement. It totally changes your state and how you feel about something than saying I can't. So my fourth one is to use a tool such as NLP or affirmations to help you think more positively. Now, through my series of videos, all of the videos that I create are all to do with using my coaching and NLP techniques. So if you subscribe to my channel to watch all my other videos, you'll start to learn a lot more of these techniques to help you create more success in life, but also just to help you change the way that you think and start believing in yourself more. Now, at this point, try listing at least 10 negative thoughts that you're having a day. Now, again, this takes a little bit of time, but as does everything. If you want anything to change, we have to practice. Repetition, repetition, repetition. The brain loves repetition. So, and we all know when we start to do something, we get better at it. It becomes more natural. It becomes ingrained and automatic when we do it over and over again. So then it becomes a habit. And this is the kind of habit that we do want to get into, because this is a more powerful, more healthier, more positive habit to create in your life. So to start off with, you're going to need a little bit of time. But do you know what? Everything takes a little bit of time to start off with, and it's so well worth doing. So list about 10. If you don't have 10, don't worry about it. If you've only got 5 for that day, start with 5, start with 10, whatever's comfortable for you. So write them down and reframe them. Create something more positive. So like we did with the I can't, let's go with I'll give it a go. If you might have something where you write down I feel stupid, We can change that into, I gave it my best shot. So it might be that you've done something and you feel stupid about what it is that you've done. Yeah, let's reframe that into, I did my best, or let's look up maybe how you could change things moving forward, how you could do things differently. But where it comes to something like that as well, where we may use the fact that you're stupid, really go down into where that cause comes from, because I can guarantee you that will be something that comes from the past that you may have heard, maybe from teachers, because this does happen, unfortunately, and that does then become ingrained. And then every time you make a mistake, your automatic negative thoughts turn around to you and tell you you are stupid. So this is, but these are not facts. This is not a fact. This is a thought. So this is why it's so important to catch these thoughts. So number 5, the last one, is chunking or breaking large amounts of information down into smaller pieces. Now, sometimes our negative thoughts can be big thoughts. They can be those ones that are ingrained from years and years of that negative repetition. And in order to reframe them and change them into a more positive, we may have to chunk them down. It's like with any goal or anything that we're trying to achieve. If you try and deal with something that is a this big, all in one go, you're going to get to a point where you're banging your head against a brick wall. You're probably feeling like you can't, it's just too big and too manageable. It sends you into overwhelm. So rather than carrying on and dealing with it, you give up and just go, I can't. So there'll be a classic where you might then turn around to yourself and say, you can't do it, because you're trying to do something too big all in one go. So pick that bigger thought apart into the smaller ones and deal with those smaller ones. Do all the tips that I've mentioned just now into the smaller ones, so that you can then work out what it is. And then once you've done that, you can chunk it back up to then have a look at what that thought is as a whole. So break it down and then chunk it back up again so that you can see the bigger picture of what it was that's going on. But if you take it down first, you can get into kind of like the nitty-gritty of where that thought comes from, and then you can put it all back together to see it as a whole, which will help you then to let go of it completely. Now, again, like I said, repetition. And I can't repeat enough how much that we need to repeat this in order for this then to become natural. So for myself, I started to do this. And then it gets to a point now where I pick a thought that comes up and I dissect it and I do all of those things in a matter of minutes. And then I'm able to let that thought go again, because I'm able to recognize that it's just a thought. It's not a fact. It's not real. It's not happening. It's just a thought that is trying to keep me safe in some way, or it's a thought that's come from somewhere that doesn't actually belong to me anymore. It's not who I am. It's not one I want to take forward. So then I'm able to let go of it. And that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And guys, if you did, please do spread the word, because I am here every week making brand new videos to help people believe in themselves, create the success that they want, and live happier and healthier lives. So all that's left to say from me today is enjoy what is, from where I look out the window, an amazingly sunny day. Take care for now. Bye-bye.